Limnot Yameinu, Limnot Yameinu, Limnot Yameinu, Kain Hoda, V'navi Levav Chochma. Limnot Yameinu, Kain Hoda, V'navi Levav Chochma. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day, that we may open hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. Limnot Yameinu. As is unpacked by our friend Rabbi Yitzchak Husbands-Hagen, teach us to treasure each day. But it doesn't really mean that. It means to count each day, to take an account for each day. And so, on this Shabbat Emor, we're going to do some counting. So let's take a look a little deeper into some of the words of Parshat Emor, which is a lot about time. Daber el bnei Yisrael v'yirmarta alehem moadai Adonai asher tikra'u otam mikra'ei kodesh elehem moadai. Daber el bnei Yisrael. Speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my fixed times, the fixed times of Yud He Vav He, which you shall proclaim as sacred occasions. I always wondered what's going on here. Is God stepping out of time to be present with us in time? Good question, but one that I'm not going to be addressing today, but rather concentrating on what are these sacred occasions that are being alluded to. Let's take a look. First of all, we've got Shabbos. What else do we have? We have all of the other festivals. Pesach, Passover. We've got Rosh Hashanah. We've got Yom Kippur. We've got Sukkot. And finally, what's the last thing that is missing here? We've got to what we are counting to during these days of the Omer, Shavuot. But hang on to your horses. Maybe not the best thing to say today, Renee, huh? Because there is mention in this parsha of Shabbat as one of the sacred occasions. There's mention of Pesach, there's mention of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, all by name. But not Shavuot by name. Stay tuned. Let's see where we go with this. Chukim olam ledorotechem b'chol moshvotechem. Almost needed you with that, Scott.
Moshe.
There you go. Moshvotechem. We're everywhere. These are the chukim. These are the instructions that you may not understand with your left brain, but you got to let go and let God. All right? And these instructions, these festivals, they shall be for all generations. The Dorotechem. It's not just for this moment that this is being given, but for all time, which is why we're all sitting here today, my friends. B'chol moshvotechem, and all of your synagogues, or wherever you happen to be, and celebrating on these days. What is with Jews and counting? Limnot Yameinu. From today's Torah portion regarding Shabbat. Sheshet yamim ta'aseh malacha uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat Shabbaton mikra kodesh chol malacha lo ta'asu Shabbat hi l'Adonai b'chol moshvotechem. You shall take 6 days on which you can work. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat, and the 7th day shall be what? it shall be Shabbos, where we are right now. It shall be a day of that's sanctified for you. A kol melacha, don't do any work on this day. Shabbat. He ladonai. It is to be given over to God in all your dwelling places for rest, replenishment, etc., etc. Bing! What is it with Jews and counting? You know, even though we've been instructed in this week's Parsha to count, there is a long tradition of us not being supposed to be counting. As a matter of fact, how do we count our days? We count our days in an ordinal fashion, all of which lead up to Shabbat. All roads lead to Shabbos, Yom Rishon, which we know as Sunday, but it's the first day towards Shabbos. Yom Sheni, Yom Shlishi, Yom Revi'i, Yom Chamishi, Yom Shishi, right? And then Yom Shabbat. Hey, that chart is wrong. I'm going to have to complain about that. I didn't make it. But what do we have here? Oh, I couldn't get rid of that. I want you to see something there. Okay, well, never mind. It must not have been that important. So again, what is with Jews and counting? Rashi teaches that the reason we refrain from counting Jews is because one who conducts a census is in danger of inflicting a plague upon those who were counted, which is why in the desert we collected a shekel or a half shekel and then counted the shkalim, counted those coins instead of counting people. There seems to be a sense that the evil eye, the ayin hara, if we count each other by name, by person, and say you, something bad is going to befall us. But there are ways around this. One is a chamsa. The chamsa here can ward off, according to, well, let's just face it, it's a little bit of, what do you call it?
Superstition.
Thank you, Scott Ryder. Superstition. That's why I like people sitting next to me right here to fill in the blanks when my mind just goes woo, woo, woo. When we have need for a minyan, do we count each person? Scott, Mark, David, Judy? No. No. Shulamit is shaking her head. No, because you know better. We don't do that because we don't, as we already established, count each other in that way. Instead, we use Psalm 28. Get your fingers ready, because here we go. Hoshia et ammecha. That's 3. Uvarech et nachlatecha. That's 6. Orem v'nasem ad ha'olam makes 10. So if I look at you as the first person, I'm going to say Hoshea, and I'm going to look at the second person as I'm counting to myself to make sure we have a minyan. Again, not counting by numbers. Except in this week's Parsha. My head is spinning in 1,000 different directions. Are we supposed to count or are we not supposed to count? You might recognize these pesukim, these lines, because these are lines that we recite before the bracha for counting the Omer. Usfartem lachem mimacharat haShabbat, you shall count for yourself. No one else can do it for you. Miyom haviachem et Omer hatanufa sheva Shabbatot mimotiena. And from the day on which you bring the sheaf of elevation offering. So you take your wheat offering, because this is a celebration of the end of the first harvest, of the wheat harvest, and we're going to bring it, we're going to schlep it to the temple, right? And you're going to count off 7 weeks. They must be complete weeks. 7 times 7 equals what? 49. We're not supposed to count sometimes, but we're supposed to multiply. And then on the 50th day, we make our ways to the temple. We walk there. That's why it's one of the shalosh regalim, the 3 times that we get on our feet and we go. Just like that guy is doing right there. He's collecting the wheat so he can make his way to the temple and offering it as a wheat offering to God. Ad mimacharat haShabbat shvi'i tisperu chamishim yom. You must count until the day after the seventh week, 50 days. Then you bring an offering of new grain to Yud Hey Vav Hey, which then brings us to the festival of, and if you say Shavuot, you are wrong. Because in temple days, it was known as Chag HaKatsir, the gathering, the festival of the gathering in of the wheat. And we gather the wheat and we bring it with us to the temple and we offer the wheat as thanks for having such a wonderful, wonderful harvest. Now, this whole idea of Shavuot being the day of revelation and of receiving Torah, that happens when the rabbis get their hands on things. You can't trust any rabbi once we're after biblical times, because he or she, well, there's a bunch of guys, they might make up anything. And they connected Pesach, liberation, to revelation, and that became Chag HaShavuot, the festival of weeks, of those 7 weeks. Shavuot is 1 week. Shavuot is weeks in plural. 7 weeks. At the end of that time, bring your offering. See, then the mystics get their hands on things. And then we have the counting of the Omer. And you see on both the right and the left, a nice drawing of all the sphirot, these energy centers that kind of look like, to me, a pinball machine that go bing, bong, 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 bing, right, and knock up against each other, and they relate to each other. And all of these are internal and external at the same time, right? And during the counting of the Omer, what are we looking to do? We're looking to refine ourselves, our inner selves, right? We can't bring the wheat to the temple anymore, but we can bring ourselves to every moment. And that's why we count the Omer in the way that we do and focus on the different energies within us, all of which need to be in better balance. From Pesach to Shavuot, we climb, in a way, Jacob's ladder, from liberation to revelation at Sinai. We no longer collect the wheat, but we do center in our hearts to bring the best of ourselves to every moment. What needs refinement in you? Perhaps this Shabbat offers a direction and an invitation. On this Shabbat Emor, may we remember not only to count our days, but also to make our days count. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.